Have you ever felt as if you were adrift in life, disconnected, searching for meaning that always seems to slip through your fingers? Many of us experience this feeling of emptiness, as if the answers that could transform our existence were hidden in a dense, unreachable fog. However, what if these answers were not in the outside world, but within ourselves, hidden in the shadows we avoid facing? Carl Gustav Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who pioneered the field of depth psychology, dedicated his life to exploring these inner depths. He didn't just study the human mind, he mapped it, exploring uncharted territories of the psyche. Jung often stated that human beings desperately seek to secure their existence against emptiness, against the possibility of a meaningless life. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Jung didn't just study the mind superficially. He delved into the parts that most people fear to confront, the unconscious, the shadow, the hidden fears and desires that we hide from the world and often from ourselves. For Jung, life wasn't just a sequence of random events or an endless quest for material success. He believed that there was a deeper meaning to be discovered, but that this discovery required the courage to face the darkest and most hidden parts of our psyche. His work laid the foundations for some of today's greatest ideas and technologies, from personality types to concepts such as the inner self. Jung emphasized that the truth lies not in avoiding our conflicts, but in facing them head-on, because it is in this confrontation that we find opportunities for growth and self-knowledge. For Jung, life was not an enigma to be solved, but a mystery to be lived and unraveled. However, he didn't reach this understanding after a week of isolated meditation. His journey in search of the meaning of life was deeply personal, shaped by his own experiences and internal challenges. Jung faced doubts, crises, and confronted the darkest aspects of himself. Born in 1875 in Keswil, Switzerland, the son of a Protestant pastor, Jung grew up in a religious environment. Although he respected his father, he felt that his rigid religious beliefs were limiting his own spiritual search in adulthood. This early conflict between spirituality and skepticism planted the seeds for his eventual fascination with the unconscious and the nature of the human soul. Around the age of 30, Jung faced what he described as a horrible confrontation with the unconscious. He had intense visions, heard voices, and even worried that he was on the verge of psychosis or something akin to schizophrenia. These experiences led him to ask questions that many of us prefer to avoid. Who am I? Why do I feel this way? What is the purpose of all this? Jung referred to this inner exploration as an inner adventure, considering it the real challenge of life. Like all of us, he faced moments of confusion, doubt, and existential crises. But instead of running away from these difficulties, he welcomed them as opportunities for growth. Jung believed that moments of crisis and uncertainty were not obstacles, but guides that pointed to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. For Jung, the meaning of life was not something to be found in comfort zones, but a conquest that emerged from facing one's own fears and deep introspection. From an early age, he realized that human existence was more complex than it appeared on the surface. There was a depth to experience that the psychologists of his day rarely explored. So Jung embarked on a unique journey, not to conquer lands or achieve external success, but to explore the unknown within himself. Initially interested in medicine, Jung had no direct inclination towards clinical psychology. However, his fascination with mental illness led him to psychiatry. In 1900, he began working at the Burg-Hölzli Psychiatric Hospital in Zurich, where he studied patients with schizophrenia. It was in this environment that Jung had his first contact with the work of Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. As he delved deeper into Freud's ideas, Jung began a correspondence with him, and the two developed a stimulating intellectual relationship. They often debated theories, and over time, Jung rose through the ranks of psychoanalysis, becoming Freud's protégé. Freud saw Jung as the ideal successor to perpetuate his legacy. However, Jung didn't limit himself to Freud's theories. He expanded them, often in radical ways. While Freud believed that much of human behavior was explained by unconscious impulses, especially of a sexual nature, Jung began to feel dissatisfied with this narrow view. He proposed that the human mind was a vast and mysterious territory, full of symbols, myths, and connections that transcended time and culture. This difference in perspective ended up distancing Jung from Freud. While Freud saw the unconscious as a storehouse of repressed desires, Jung saw it as a gateway to something much greater. Jung could not agree with many of Freud's ideas, especially his purely personal approach and his disregard for man's historical conditions. He proposed a structure of the psyche made up of three main elements: the ego, the conscious mind that interacts with the world around us and constitutes our sense of self; the personal unconscious, a storehouse of forgotten memories and repressed emotions, highly unique to each individual; and the collective unconscious, perhaps his greatest contribution to psychology. The latter represents a deep and universal level of the unconscious that all human beings share, containing universal archetypes and symbols that influence our thoughts and behavior. Jung's ideas paved the way for a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. His theories remain relevant not only to understanding our individual minds, but also our connection to others and to humanity as a whole. He emphasized that the truth lies not in avoiding our conflicts, but in facing them head-on. For Jung, life was not a riddle to be solved, but a mystery to be lived and unraveled. His personal journey in search of meaning was not theoretical or abstract. It was shaped by his own experiences, doubts, and crises, reflecting the complexity of the human condition. Jung's brilliance inevitably led to disagreements with Freud, but it wasn't just professional disagreements that drove them apart. The central disagreement lay in Freud's view that sexual desires were the primary motor of human behavior, while Jung considered this perspective to be excessively limited. He argued that myths, spirituality, and the search for meaning played equally crucial roles in shaping the human psyche. These ideological differences created a chasm that was never completely bridged. The break between Jung and Freud was painful, but it marked a significant turning point for Jung. His departure from Freud's circle represented not only a personal separation, but a fundamental split in the field of psychology. While Freud's legacy evolved into psychoanalysis, Jung charted a completely new path called analytical psychology, which would lead him to some of the most profound insights into the human experience. Jung's ideas offer a map for anyone seeking to understand themselves more fully. However, his theories were neither perfect nor universally accepted by all psychologists. Perhaps the most significant concept that Jung presented to the world is that of the shadow, one of the main archetypes he described. The shadow is made up of all the parts of ourselves that we repress, ignore, or deny. It contains traits that we consider negative, such as anger, envy, and greed, but also positive qualities that we admire in others and refuse to recognize in ourselves. It's like a psychological junk drawer. However, keeping something out of sight doesn't mean it's out of mind. The shadow finds ways to infiltrate our lives, often appearing in projections. For example, imagine you're at a party and you meet a loud, outgoing person who tries to start a dance circle. You've never liked people who seek to be the center of attention in public, and in a way, you feel you've always been that way. You roll your eyes thinking, I would never be like that. But what if this reaction wasn't just a simple annoyance? What if it was a reflection of something hidden and buried deep inside you? The shadow scares us because it forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we would rather ignore. We spend our lives pushing these parts into the background, pretending they don't exist. But according to Jung, this is exactly why many of us feel lost and disconnected. The secret, Jung said, is that the shadow is not inherently bad. It is simply unexamined. The more we run away from it, the more power it has over us. However, when we turn to face it, we regain control. We integrate these forgotten parts of ourselves and, in doing so, come closer to wholeness. Jung believed that this confrontation with the shadow was one of the most important steps in the search for the meaning of life. He emphasized that integrating the shadow not only makes us more complete, but also enriches our capacity for empathy and understanding of others. By recognizing our own faults and imperfections, we become more tolerant and compassionate towards those of others. Furthermore, Jung warned that without this journey of self-knowledge, we run the risk of projecting our unresolved problems onto others. We would blame the world for what we cannot accept in ourselves. But by embracing our complexity, by integrating light and dark, we begin to find peace, purpose, and a deeper understanding of what life really means. This integration is not an easy or quick process. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to face aspects of ourselves that may be uncomfortable or painful. However, Jung believed that this inner journey was essential for personal development and for realizing our full potential as human beings. By learning to face the parts of ourselves that cause us discomfort, we begin a more authentic and fulfilling life process. Jung did not limit himself to identifying the shadow as an accumulation of individual fears and failings. He placed it in a broader context, essential to a process he called individuation. This process does not seek perfection but totality, which implies accepting all the facets of our personality, both the bright and the dark. Individuation is central to Jung's work, representing the path to becoming who we really are, rather than conforming to other people's expectations or the social masks we adopt. However, this path is not taken by avoiding problems or running away from fears. On the contrary, it requires us to face them directly. Jung believed that we are all born with vast potential, but as we grow up, we learn to suppress parts of our essence in order to conform to social norms. We adopt masks or personas, a term used by Jung, to please others and avoid conflict. Over time, we confuse these masks with our true identity, which can generate a feeling of emptiness or discomfort as a result of distancing ourselves from our authentic self. The process of individuation involves removing these masks, confronting the shadow, and accepting our intrinsic complexity. This journey is not simple. It requires us to face aspects of ourselves that we would prefer to ignore, to revisit painful memories, and to accept characteristics of our personality that society has taught us to hide. Jung warned that without this inner search, we tend to project our unresolved conflicts onto others, blaming the world for what we can't accept in ourselves. By embracing our complexity and integrating light and shadow, we begin to find peace, purpose, and a deeper understanding of the meaning of life. One of Jung's most revolutionary ideas was the concept of the collective unconscious. Unlike Freud, who saw the unconscious as a storehouse of repressed desires, Jung proposed the existence of a deeper layer, shared by all of humanity. This collective unconscious is populated by archetypes, universal symbols, and patterns that emerge in myths, religions, and stories from all cultures and eras. Archetypes such as the hero, the mother, the wise old man, and the trickster reflect fundamental human experiences that transcend specific contexts. For Jung, these archetypes were not mere static symbols. They represented living forces within the human psyche, shaping our thoughts, dreams, and behavior. By recognizing these patterns in ourselves, we can better understand our lives and the challenges we face. The collective unconscious also reminds us of our connection to humanity as a whole, highlighting that we are not alone in our struggles and that we share a common psychic heritage. Jung emphasized that the integration of these archetypes was crucial to the individuation process. For example, the archetype of the Great Mother can manifest itself in different ways, influencing our perception of maternal figures and our relationship to care and nurturing. Similarly, the archetype of the wise old man can emerge as an internal figure of guidance and knowledge, helping us in moments of decision and reflection. By connecting with these archetypal aspects, we enrich our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Furthermore, Jung believed that dreams were a privileged way of accessing the collective unconscious and the archetypes it contains. In dreams, the unconscious communicates through symbols and narratives that reflect both our personal conflicts and universal themes. By analyzing and reflecting on these dreams, we can gain valuable insights into our psyche and promote our personal growth. Jung saw dream interpretation not as a search for rigid hidden meanings, but as an ongoing dialogue with the unconscious, allowing us to integrate unknown aspects of our personality. In short, the journey of individuation proposed by Jung is an invitation to explore the depths of our psyche, confront our shadows, and recognize the archetypes that shape our experience. This path, although challenging, leads to a more authentic and meaningful life, aligned with our true essence and connected to the collective experience of humanity. The experiences we live through and the challenges we face are not isolated. They are part of a larger narrative, connecting us to all who came before and all who will come after. Jung understood that we are not just individuals loose in time, but part of a continuous flow of the human psyche, where our pains, dreams, and searches for meaning resonate throughout history. We are not of today, nor of yesterday. We are of an immense era, he said, reinforcing the idea that we carry within us not only our own experiences, but also the weight of ancestral wisdom. For him, understanding the unconscious was not just a matter of personal development, but a way of finding meaning in life. By accessing this knowledge, we begin to see the present more clearly and discover a deeper purpose for our existence. Jung believed that dreams were a bridge between the conscious mind and the unconscious. They were not merely random manifestations, but symbols loaded with meaning, bringing to light hidden aspects of the psyche that we often ignore. In dreams, we find archetypes, characters, and stories that reflect our inner conflicts, our fears, and our unrealized potential. Jung saw dreams as an invitation to self-knowledge, an opportunity to dialogue with the deepest layers of our mind and recognize the patterns that shape our lives. For him, understanding these signs was not a matter of superstition, but an essential path to integrating our own essence and becoming more complete human beings. Jung's ideas challenge us to see life as a continuous process of discovery, where every challenge we face is actually an opportunity for growth. Individuation, this path of integration of the psyche, is not easy, but it is where we find authenticity, purpose, and a true sense of belonging. The collective unconscious reminds us that we are not alone in our search for meaning, and that our individual journey, however unique it may seem, shares profound similarities with the human experience throughout the ages. The meaning of life is not something fixed or definitive, but a constant construction, a movement towards wholeness. If this reflection has made sense to you, if it has somehow brought clarity to your journey, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This helps to strengthen this work and gives more people access to content like this. And if you want to support this project even more, you can send a donation of any amount. Your contribution makes all the difference so that we can continue to explore profound themes and bring reflections that really matter. See you in the next video.